There's a moment that visits almost everyone, usually late at night when the noise of the world quiets down and honesty gets louder. It's the moment when you think about the thing you love doing the most, the thing that makes hours disappear, the thing that feels less like effort and more like expression. And then, almost immediately, another thought follows. It's just a hobby. Those three words, just a hobby, have quietly buried more potential than failure ever has. Because failure at least means you tried. A hobby kept small often means you never did. Passion has a peculiar nature. It doesn't arrive randomly. It shows up where your natural curiosity, talent, and emotional energy intersect. It pulls you repeatedly, even when life gets busy. It whispers ideas when you're supposed to be resting. It excites you in ways routine obligations rarely do. That pull isn't accidental. It's directional. Passion points toward capacity you haven't fully expressed yet. But most people treat passion like a recreational escape instead of a developmental signal. They give it leftover time, evenings when they're tired, weekends when they're distracted, holidays when they feel temporarily free. Meanwhile, their prime energy goes into obligations that pay the bills but don't ignite the soul. Over time, passion becomes something they visit, not something they build. And what you only visit can never fully grow. Keeping passion as a hobby feels safe because hobbies come without pressure. No deadlines, no performance expectations, no financial risk, no public judgment. You can engage when you want and disengage when you don't. Comfort stays intact. Ego stays protected. But comfort has a hidden cost. It limits expansion. Growth requires friction. When you take your passion seriously, you introduce stakes. You put your work out into the world. You face feedback. You compete. You refine. You invest in tools, training, and improvement. That pressure forces evolution. Skill sharpens. Perspective deepens. Standards rise. A hobby allows repetition. A pursuit demands progression. There's also a psychological tension that builds when passion is continuously minimized. Deep down, you're aware of what you're capable of becoming if you gave it full commitment. You may not articulate it publicly, but internally you sense it. And when months turn into years of underinvestment, a subtle dissatisfaction forms. It's the feeling of living below your own potential. People often rationalize this gap with practicality, responsibilities, financial security, family expectations, stability concerns, all valid consideration. But turning passion into something meaningful doesn't always require reckless abandonment of stability. It usually begins with structured expansion, deliberate time allocation, skill building, small monetization experiments, public sharing. Passion doesn't need an immediate leap. It needs consistent elevation. History is full of people who started their passion on the margins of their schedules. Writers who wrote before work, chefs who cooked after shifts, creators who built content at night, entrepreneurs who tested ideas on weekends. The difference is, they didn't let it remain marginal forever. They kept expanding its footprint until it demanded center stage. Potential grows where commitment compounds. There's also a wider impact most people overlook. Your passion isn't valuable only to you. It often carries solutions, ideas, art, or services that others need. When you suppress it, you're not just denying yourself fulfillment, you're withholding contribution. The world loses innovations not because people lack ideas, but because they lack courage to develop them. Another fear that keeps passion confined is the belief that monetizing it will kill the joy. That once money enters, love exits. But in many cases, the opposite happens. Responsibility deepens engagement. When your passion begins creating tangible value for others, it gains meaning beyond personal entertainment. Purpose is passion that has found usefulness. Yes, monetization introduces pressure. But pressure isn't inherently negative. It's developmental. Athletes perform under pressure. Artists create under deadlines. Entrepreneurs innovate under constraints. Pressure stretches capacity. Without stretch, potential stays theoretical. Time is another silent factor. Many people postpone serious pursuit with the illusion of later. Later when life is calmer, later when savings increase, later when responsibilities reduce. But life rarely empties space, it fills it. New obligations replace old ones. Energy declines. Risk tolerance shrinks. The window of boldness narrows if unused. There's also the skill ceiling problem. When passion stays recreational, improvement slows after a point. You repeat familiar patterns instead of exploring new complexity. But once passion becomes pursuit, you seek mentorship, training, advanced learning, structured feedback. You stop playing. You start mastering. In today's digital era, the opportunity cost of keeping passion small is even greater. Platforms allow global reach. Skills can be monetized remotely. Audiences can be built from a single room. Creators, educators, designers, consultants, performers. Countless people have converted passion into scalable income streams. The infrastructure to support passion-driven careers has never been stronger. Yet many still hesitate, not because opportunity is absent, but because fear is present. Fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of financial instability, fear of discovering they're not as good as they hoped. But avoiding that discovery is itself a loss. Because clarity, even uncomfortable clarity, is empowering. It tells you whether to double down, pivot, or redirect. A hobby shields you from judgment, but also shields you from discovery. And discovery is where potential reveals itself. There's also an identity shift that occurs when passion is taken seriously. Language changes first. You stop saying, "I like photography," and start saying, "I'm a photographer." That linguistic shift alters self-perception. Confidence builds, accountability increases. You begin operating at higher standards because you now see the craft as part of who you are. Identity expands when passion moves from casual to committed. It's important to acknowledge that not every passion must become a full-time profession. Some may remain complementary to your primary career. But the waste occurs when passion is kept small, purely out of fear, rather than conscious design. Choice is empowering. Avoidance is limiting. Ask yourself honestly, if fear and practicality were removed, would you still keep your passion at hobby level? If the answer is no, then there's unrealized potential waiting for permission. Imagine looking back, decades from now, evaluating your life not just by what you earned, but by what you expressed. The projects you built, people you impacted through something uniquely yours. Regret rarely stems from trying and failing. It stems from sensing unused capability. You don't need immediate perfection to begin. You need visible commitment. Share your work. Offer your service. Publish your ideas. Charge modestly. Improve publicly. Let your passion interact with reality. That interaction is where refinement happens. Because potential isn't activated through admiration, it's activated through application. Treating your passion seriously also builds internal alignment. When what you love overlaps with what you do, life feels less fragmented. Energy becomes more sustainable. Effort feels meaningful rather than draining. Alignment reduces burnout more than vacations ever can. Keeping passions forever confined to hobby status is like owning fertile land, but planting only decorative plants, never crops, never orchards, never forests. Beautiful, yes, but vastly underutilized. You were given interests, curiosities, and talents for a reason. They're signals pointing toward contribution, fulfillment, and expanded identity. Don't mute those signals. Let your passion face daylight. Let it carry responsibility. Let it grow beyond comfort. Because within that pursuit lives a more expressed version of you, one that is braver, more impactful, and more fulfilled. And the world benefits when individuals operate closer to their full potential. If this reflection stirred something inside you, don't let it dissolve into temporary inspiration. Take one tangible step this week. Enroll in training, publish your work, offer a service, build a portfolio, collaborate with others. Momentum begins with visible action. Your passion doesn't need permission from the world. It needs commitment from you, because the greatest waste of potential isn't lacking talent. It's keeping talent permanently part-time.